and he will be taking us on Entra ID integration and device enrollment basics. I would also check the chat to know if my people are engaging. Please keep the chat active as we proceed in the section. And if you have any question, also please drop it in the chat box. This is a bit about me. I am Julieth, a tech and data literacy advocate. I am passionate about technology advocacy, also committed to program that's targeted at women and young people that are migrating into tech. My career spans data analytics, operation, media and public relations, and I currently specialize in data governance. And with the speaker that will be joining us today is Adekunle. Adekunle is an enterprise administrator, and he is a Microsoft certified trainer. He is experienced in the M365 workloads, including Exchange, SharePoint, Outlook, OneDrive, and Microsoft Team. With his level of experience, he'll be taking us through this section today, and it promises to be rewarding. Another person I would love you to know why we continue this section is our EBU leader and founder, Olajumoke Toriola. She is a technology officer at Hashim and have extensive experience working in the IT industry. She is a certified Microsoft trainer and Microsoft's most valuable professional, specifically in the M365 apps and services award category. So these are the housekeeping rules that I want you to be aware of. First off, this section will be recorded and will be made available for future viewing for you. Ensure you mute your mic when you're not speaking. This will allow the speaker to be able to hear himself and others to hear him as well as he takes us through this deep dive. Please drop your question in the chat box. Like I have said earlier, you can follow us on Twitter, check our YouTube link, and please subscribe. And we also value your feedback. While we also bring our speaker to this section, please make welcome our able speaker, Adekunle Sarumi, as he takes the seat to take us through this section. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Juliet. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, from wherever you're joining us from. Thank you guys for joining again. And before we proceed, I just wanted to say, probably give a very quick apology because this session has been on hold for a number of weeks. It was supposed to be a bi-weekly thing. I think the last time we met was last month. This time last month was the last weekend of last month as well. So apologies that we actually took a pause, but we're back in full force and we're ready to dive into the deep dive, as the case may be. So expect the sessions as we go on every 2 weeks, bi-weekly, and then I hope you're able to get a lot out of it. So thank you again for the introduction, Juliet. So nice having you here. So very quickly, I'll just share my screen so we can get into it. Please let me know when you can see my screen. Okay, so I'm sharing now. Please, can you guys confirm that chat if you can see my screen? And also you can confirm if you can hear me. I don't know if I'm shouting or my voice is moderate enough. Okay, thank you guys. Okay, yeah, thank you. All right, so let's dive in. As you know, this is part of the deep dive sessions of the Nigeria Microsoft 365 communities, one of the offerings that this community provides for everyone. And for this year, the focus is on Microsoft Intune, and that's why you'd see that as we'll be going on bi-weekly, most of the topics we'll be talking about will be centered around Microsoft Intune and the likes. So I'll just do a quick recap of our last meeting or our last session we had last month. We spoke about the Microsoft Intune, what it's all about. We spoke about the licensing, spoke about the configurations. We also spoke about what Intune means. We defined Intune extensively. We had a lot of discussion around how to use Intune and the likes. We also had a quick walkthrough of the Intune Admin Center, how it relates to every other part of Microsoft 365 ecosystem. So today we're taking it further, and then we want to look at Entra ID integration and device enrollment basics. So just so you know, this class is going to be even though I know we have quite a number of people, it's an intermediate class, far from beginner. So I might say some things that you may not understand. That's why we have the chat box. We also have a lot of mentors on the call. Juliet is on the call as well. So if you have questions, you can quickly drop them on the chat. You don't have to wait for me. You can drop it on the chats, and you have a lot of mentors on the call that would provide responses. Or at the end, maybe during this, the demo session, we would also take questions. So I'd like to set time aside for a lot of questions.
No problem.
If you are not actively speaking, can you mute your mics, please? All right, thank you. So let's go in. Entra ID integration and device enrollment basics. So for Microsoft Intune, we defined it last week as your device management service in Microsoft 365, but it doesn't work alone. It's not a standalone product, in as much as it can be purchased alone or it can be configured alone. It's not a standalone product. It's all part of the Microsoft 365 productivity suite. And due to that fact, it relies on a directory. And by directory, I mean that what you're doing on Intune is you're obviously managing devices, like we spoke about last month. I'll keep referring because I want us to have like a flashback to what we did. We spoke about device management. We spoke about application management as well. So most of what you do on Intune would involve managing your devices, managing applications, company-owned applications or third-party applications, as the case may be. But all these applications obviously don't use themselves. They are being used by users, people, staff, contractors, people in your organization. And because of this, they need to be fed from a directory. So that's why we're looking at Entra ID integration. Entra ID is the directory Intune relies on. With ID, your Intune will just function as a regular device management. There are several device management tools outside. You've got Jamf. There's a first one. I think there's another one. There are several device management tools. But when it comes to Microsoft, your staff authority for Intune relies on Entra ID because that's where the users, their details are being gotten from. The credentials are fetched from Entra ID. So today we just want to see how that can be integrated. And then we'll also see device enrollment basics. So once see how you can enroll devices, Windows devices, the type of devices that can be enrolled. And then in the demo session, we'll try to enroll probably Windows device live on the session. And as you know, last month when I mentioned, I said we had like a developer tenant to be working with. I'm telling you now that I've not made any changes. So what you'll be seeing is fresh. We'll be creating I think there's an account created, probably create another account and then work with a virtual machine, try to enroll that so we can go with the steps. So as I've said, if you have any questions, please ask your questions as we go on. I would also be monitoring the chat on the different screen. So let's proceed. So what's our agenda for today? We want to understand Azure Active Directory, which is Entra ID. It's Entra ID now. It used to be known as Azure Active Directory. So it can be used interchangeably. In case you hear me say Azure Active Directory, I mean Entra ID. In case you hear me say Entra ID, I also mean Azure Active Directory. Then also look how you can manage the Entra ID identities. We want to look at device authentication and then enrolling devices using Microsoft Intune. All right, so let's examine Microsoft Entra ID. What's the whole fuss about Microsoft Entra ID? So Microsoft Entra ID operates as Microsoft managed directory service in the cloud. It's a platform as a service. So if you are familiar with Microsoft and the environment, you know, currently we have two directory services in Microsoft. We have the Windows Active Directory or local Active Directory, And then we have the Azure Active Directory, which also doubles as Entra ID. But Entra ID is a service in the cloud. So most times, and I think we also discussed this in the last session, your on-prem activity or your on-prem directory is localized to your on-premises infrastructure. It's what you have, what you've set up, number of servers, number of users you set up, local to your current infrastructure. But the Entra ID, it's a service in the cloud, can be accessed anywhere from everywhere, as long as they can be connected to the endpoint URLs. So what can you use Microsoft Entra to do? Entra ID to do, sorry. You can configure access to applications. So for applications you want your enterprise users to access on an enterprise level, you can use Entra ID to configure this access to applications. There's something we call making applications Azure aware or making them Entra ID aware. It means you're just making them accessible through Entra ID. We'll see that in another part of this session. It's part of what we call the application registration. That's how you can also use Entra ID. Then you can configure single sign-on to cloud-based such application services. For most of us on this call, probably if you're working with an organization where you realize that you sign into, say, Microsoft Word or Outlook, and then you realize that when you open Excel, you're also signed in. You didn't do the signing yourself. It's all part of the SSO protocol. It allows you to sign in once, and then it uses that hash or that token to sign into other software applications that are Microsoft applications or cloud-based applications that you've made Azure aware. I hope you understand what I said. So then you can also use Microsoft Entra ID to manage users and groups. You can use it to provision users. So for people that I have a very, what I say is a colleague, yeah, he's also a modern work architect. He will tell me he prefers provisioning users on Entra ID than Microsoft Admin Center. Well, there is also, I personally, I don't see any disparity between the two, though there is a lot you can get from Entra, especially when you are provisioning users. There are more features you can set from the Entra ID than on the main Microsoft 365 Admin Center. But basically, you can use Entra ID to provision users very well. You can enable federation between organizations. So say you have a separate organization and you also have like a sister organization or a partner organization, you can enable some level of federation. We have something called B2B Connect in Entra ID that allows you to connect with businesses to connect. So you can share resources, share data, share file as a business to business level. Also have B2C as well. Then we use Entra ID to provide identity management solution. Like I said, it is your directory for your identity in the M365 space. Currently, it's cloud-based. We know Microsoft is going cloud first. So when it comes to that identity in Microsoft now, you must look at Entra ID. ID there definitely stands for identity. So it's the same. Also, we can use Entra ID to identify irregular signing activities. So as admins on this call, you know, probably you and I know that when you need to track user sign-ins, the portal that you can easily access it is in the Entra ID. So you can check for signing activities. You can trace successful sign-ins. You can also track failures. For example, someone signing in Lagos, Nigeria, and then the next minute is signing from a different location. You obviously want to check that's an irregular sign-in and something you can quickly track and see. You can also configure multi-factor authentication. So on Entra ID, all the settings you have for some users that have set this up, you realize you actually set it up on Entra ID. So you have different multi-factor authentication protocols you can also set up from there. You can extend your existing on-premise Active Directory to Microsoft Entra ID. This is one very great point of using Entra ID. This is which has actually allowed most enterprises to embrace it, because organizations that probably start operations on premises and have a local Active Directory, they're able to extend this to Entra ID using the Entra ID Connect service, which is something we'll still talk about. You see how you can sync from your on-premises to the cloud using the Entra Connect service. You sync data, you can sync users, password, devices, and the likes. You can also configure application proxy. So for applications that users would probably access only on premises on your network. There is a protocol in the Entra ID that allows you to configure application proxies such that users can access those on-premises applications using their Entra ID credentials, and then configuring conditional access, which is very, very good thing. I guess it's because you don't have conditional access configured, so people can sign in from anywhere in the world. That's why this is open. But there are some conditional access policies that you would see where you can block sign-ins from different locations, or require some other multi-factor authentication strengths, or require other methods. Say you want people to not only sign in with passwords, or not only sign in with the authenticator app, you also want them to use, say, a phishing-resistant method with a FIDO2 key. Example is your UB key and the likes. So you can also use that to configure conditional access policies. All this, as you can see, can be done in the Microsoft Entra ID portal. So let's move quickly. Now I want to compare Azure AD and Active Directory Domain Services. You know, I already mentioned that Active Directory Domain Services, it's your domain services on-prem. The Entra ID is the cloud version. So let's just compare what you have between the two. On the ADDS, it's your true directory service. Like I said, that's where Microsoft obviously started from. It uses OUs and group policy objects. How many of us are very familiar with group policy objects? You can let me know in the chat so I can know. That's where you manage group policy objects for device management or user management. It can also be queried through LDAP calls, that's Lightweight Directory Access Protocol calls. It uses Kerberos for authentication primarily, except you probably have set up some ADFS federation services, but primarily it uses Kerberos for authentication. It includes computer objects, which represent computers that join an Active Directory domain. So I want you to take note of this. It includes computer objects that represent computers that join an Active Directory domain, because very soon we'll be seeing how you can join a device to Entra ID, but also if there was an on-premises domain. We are not going to be looking at on-premises here because our focus is on Intune. We'll just see the integration basically. But when you add your computers to your on-premises, they are added as computer objects. Users are also added as user objects in the AD. It uses DNS for locating resources. So for domain controllers, where you have your primary controllers, or secondary controllers, other servers, you can use DNS on the ADDS to locate that resources. And ADDS uses trust between domains for delegated management. So in cases where you have multiple domains on your on-premises level, you have to set up specific trust, forest-to-forest trust, depending on the kind of trust you're setting up. All this can be set up on the ADDS. Then on Entra ID. Entra ID is your primary identity solution for internet-based applications, which is why it is widely accepted, because everyone is in the cloud. So you want something that can be easily accessed over the internet. So Entra ID is that primary factor. There are no OUs or GPUs. What you have are regular groups and then configuration policies, which we'll see. We'll still get there definitely. It uses REST API over HTTP and HTTPS. It uses the HTTPS protocol, the SAML, federations, and then OpenID Connect. And then it includes federation services, and many third-party services are federated in Microsoft Entra ID. So let's examine Microsoft Entra ID as a directory service for cloud apps. What does it offer? It's a directory service for your Office 365. I mentioned that when you're creating users, you're going to create your users for the Entra ID and allow them to access your Office 365 applications, Dynamics 365, and Intune. Also, they require that directory. Each cloud service can have its own directory. So for each of the cloud services, you can create a separate tenant or a separate Entra ID tenant for them to have their different directory as well. Microsoft Entra ID can also serve as a single directory for multiple cloud services. So in cases where you have different cloud services, it allows the integration of other third-party cloud services as well. And then you just use Entra ID to track the users and maybe devices that are enrolled in it. Then Microsoft Entra ID can enable SSO. I explained how you can use that with a simple example of signing into one application and realizing you're signing to others as well. It's just a simple SSO protocol. Then you can use Microsoft Entra with custom applications. Yes. So I think one of the sessions we had where someone was talking about Adobe's integration to Entra ID. Yes. So with Microsoft Entra, you can set up integration such that you can integrate Adobe Enterprise into Entra ID and then allow your users that are domiciled in Entra ID to access the application using SSO as well that has been configured. So you see why Entra ID, like I said, it's like the brain box, or it's the mitochondrion of the brain, as the case may be, because everything revolves around it. And you know, identity is actually the most important part. Though I argue this because I like to talk security as well. And I tell you that one thing that can easily be addressed is the what's it called, identity, because once you are breached on your identity, you are definitely breached on every other thing, basically. So next, let's see examining RBAC and user roles in Microsoft Entra. So RBAC means role-based access control. It allows you to set delegations within the Microsoft Entra tenant. So several predefined Microsoft Entra rules, permissions based on users, assigned applications, automatically accessible via access panel. Okay, Juliet, I can see your hand up.
Yeah, there is a question on the chat box.
Okay,
bring
good.
your attention.
Let me quickly navigate that. Okay, so that's from Tolu Alashe. So he says, how do we use, can you explain how ADDS uses Kerberos for authentication? Yes. So Kerberos is an authentication protocol. I don't know if you are familiar. If you're not, it's one authentication protocol. We have several authentication protocols, but Kerberos is an authentication protocol. And how do you use that? What it uses is it uses your client to authenticate. So say, for example, you already have like, how do I explain this? A user object. It uses that user object. That's what it uses as a token to authenticate into services. So say, for example, a user in your AD has a credential. When they try to log in into a domain joined machine meaning a machine that is joined to your domain. It uses the token because the user is already a user object in your AD. That token of authentication that allows that user to sign into that domain join machine is Kerberos in use. So basically, Kerberos is just an authentication method, like I said, that allows either user objects or computer objects, or even your domain controller to access applications or access machines or anything still in your own premises. So it's just one type of an authentication method. I don't know if that helps. I think that was to do Alashe. Okay, Shegun Phillips.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just speaking in respect of this explanation, your explanation on Kerberos authentication now, and earlier on Active Directory Domain Controller, you talked about trust. So I want to ask what usually cause trust relationship in ADDS environment, like when the computer is going to the all of a sudden it starts saying, oh, this computer is there's a trust relationship between this computer and the domain controller. So I don't know what's usually the cause.
Okay, thank you so much for that question, Shegun. So this is one question I think a lot of system admins would have encountered at one point in time in their career. So most times there is always a break in trust relationships when devices are out of sync. And by out of sync, I mean last authentication to the domain. For example, a device that has not been checked in in a number of these, depending on what has been set. So, and then trust also, the kind of trust I spoke about is trust between domains. When it comes to this one you're speaking about, where a user can sign into a device or something, most times it might be that that device is not connected to the on-premises network. Once there's no connection to the on-premises network, obviously you can't authenticate. And that still takes us back to Kerberos, because Kerberos authentication needs to see that that authenticated user, that user that has a user object, that has an object, that has a canonical name in the local AD, can authenticate into that device that also has another canonical name. We want to ensure that the SIDs can actually match. If it doesn't match, if they don't see themselves, as the case may be, that's when there is a break, and something you can define as maybe he has lost the trust in that relationship. But that's even between a user signing into a device, which can easily be remediated by checking device settings, or you want to check the network settings. Sorry, I said not device settings, network settings. You want to be sure that that device is connected to the network, the on-premises network, as the case may be. But the one I spoke about is even trust between different domains. So when you have different domains within the organization, and all of them are in the on-premises environment, you want to trust the domains. So for example, xyz.com or xyz.local, and you want to trust it with abc.com or abc.local. So you can create those kind of trust. Could be a one-way trust and say, let ABC see XYZ, but don't let XYZ see ABC. It means that ABC can see what is in XYZ, but XYZ should not see what's in ABC. Or you can make it a two-way trust. So there are different ways, there are different trust models you can also create for that kind of domain scenario. Okay, have I been able to explain it? Okay, one more question. I want to ask if one can set up 2 tenants. Okay, I think I might have to pause on questions so that we don't break the flow. But I'll just answer what we have currently on the chat, and then I'll continue the questions when we get to probably a break. I want to ask if one can set up 2 tenants on that one email. Like we have a tenant currently, but we don't want to set up another one out of it. Yes and no. Yes, basically you can set up 2 tenants, but not on that one email. Basically, you would have to create a different, and by email, I want to assume what you mean is domain, because these are business and enterprise offerings. It's not a personal kind of infrastructure. So what you would mean by email, I want to believe, means domain. So setting up 2 tenants on that one domain, no, because you can have your one custom domain verified in 2 separate tenants. That's there's no indemnity there. Your one custom domain can only be verified on one tenant. If you want to set up another tenant, you would have to probably get another domain. Though you can still have the domain function, like maybe added, but you can have its function as a standalone or make it like a start of authority for that tenant. So you can have 2 domains or one domain in 2 tenants. But you can have 2 tenants, 2 domains, yes, as much as you want. I hope that clears that question from Shegun or Latri. Then Michael, what is a typical scenario where there will be need to create multiple Entra ID directories in one Azure directory, in one Azure tenant subscription? Yes. So we have multi-tenant organizations where you want to set up a subsidiaries, most times in cases of diverse teachers or just a company that has maybe sister organizations, and you want to have separate Entra directories. Also because maybe you want to have a separate manager. Should I say manager or administrator? I would say administrator. You want to have a separate administrator for each of these directories. So that's a typical scenario. For example, I think I've worked with clients where they wanted, it's a multinational, and then they have branches in different part of the world. So they wanted each directory to be managed by someone that sits in that part of the world. So a Nigerian directory created for someone, users in Nigeria, and then the admin on that would be a Nigerian guy, other countries. But then there's still a general or a global administrator, as the case may be. So that way you can easily scope policies or scope settings according to the directories and then manage them. And then you have one person which oversees everything. So that's a typical case I've seen so far where you can, that allows you to set up Entra ID directories on that one Azure subscription. Okay, thank you, Michael. So we can keep asking questions, but let's just go back to the slide so that we can grab what we have to grab, and then maybe at the end we'll go back to all the questions. So I think I'll just note that I stopped at Michael's question. So in case I need to answer more questions as we go on. So let's get back to our slide. Yeah, so we're examining Outback user rules in Microsoft Entra. Spoke about delegation. So Outback rules, rule-based access rules, we have different rules. Most times, M365 admins or people that are in the M365 space will just want to do one small thing. This is on a lighter note now, and then be requesting for global admin. You don't have to have global admin every time. You don't need it every time. There are smaller rules, less privileged rules you can use to accomplish different tasks in the Microsoft Entra. So that's where role-based access control comes in. You have authentication administrators, security administrators, user password administrators, other activity administrators, as the case may be. So you can use that delegation within your Entra tenant. You can also create rules. They are predefined rules. You can also create custom rules and then assign these rules on your resources, on your resource group, or even on the subscription level. Then the user rules in Entra ID, yes, there's a global administrator, limited administrator, user admin, and the rest. So all the rules basically that we have in Entra ID can be combined into these three. And what I mean is, one is global admin. The second one, limited admin. Under the limited admin, you have other administrators, billing, service admin, this admin, that admin. Then you have your users. So under the users, you have your guest users, you have your member users, and the likes. So that's what you have in Entra ID. Next, so let's see. Creating and managing users in Entra ID. I want to be very fast so we can have time for questions and the demo. You can create two types of users accounts on the Azure portal, member users and guest accounts. I think in one of our mentorship program, this has been extensively discussed by the mentors, Emmanuel, Weye, and a number of people have spoken about this as well. So I'll probably not dwell on this. You can create member users, you can create guest users, and then there are two ways to create and manage your users: as cloud identities by using only Microsoft Entra, or as directory synchronized identities. So let me explain this. The two ways to create users: you can create them as cloud-only users, meaning that you just create them on Entra ID, and that's it. They're created, get to work, signed in, authentication, everything is done in the cloud. In a case where you are hybridized, so maybe an hybrid system, you have on-prem and cloud, and then there's communication between the two. You can create your users as directory synchronized identity. So basically what that means is you create the users on the on the create users on premises. And by on premises, I hope we know that means your local Active Directory. I've spoken about it today. Once you create users on your own premises, they are synced directly to your Entra ID. So they become directory synced identities. So this kind of identity can traverse between cloud, on-prem, because they are synced users, as the case may be. Then creating and managing groups in Microsoft Entra ID. So if you remember, I said in Entra ID, we don't have OUs. OUs mean organizational units. This is how you manage group of users on premises. So you have an OU. You are very familiar with the Active Directory. My best OU, let me say this now on this call, and I think it's recorded. My best OU is the lost and found OU, because that OU saves stress when you need to do some kind of directory synchronization. If there's anything I don't want to sync, you know what to do now. Just dump them in there. So that's my best OU. But that's on a lighter note anyways. But in the cloud, let's come back to the cloud. You have 4 group types: security, mail-enabled, distribution, and F65 groups. Every type or every kind of group you create in the Entra ID has to be one of these types. Security groups are created basically for assignments. Maybe you are trying to assign a policy, you're trying to assign license to a number of users, blah, blah, blah. You can create a security group for that. Mail-enabled security group is a security group, but allows you to send mail to it. So it functions as a security group, but it's mail-enabled. So you can find it in your global address list. You can easily send emails to it. Then we have distribution groups or lists. They are the same. Either use distribution groups or you say distribution list. you have that. So distribution lists are created as I would say an email handler. I'm trying to find the perfect word for it. So I'll say something you use to just distribute emails, or I don't want to say bulk email because it's not like bulk email settings, but we use distribution lists when you need to send email to, say, number of users, and you don't have to start adding them one by one. So for example, most of us that are in organizations, you know that there is a particular email your HR sends to, and then you get it delivered in your mailbox. Some people have it as all users, company, all of us, something like that, and the likes. So you see, with that, you can, with distribution groups, once you create that, you can use that to send emails to a number of users. So once that is the use of distribution groups, then lastly, we have the Office 365 groups. Office 365 groups has more functions because that is the type of groups you can easily be nested into Teams and SharePoint. So once you create an Office 365 group, it can be added to Team sites, can be added to SharePoint sites for collaboration as well. So most times when you have guest users, they are probably part of the Office 365 groups because you've allowed them access to your SharePoint sites. Distribution lists oftentimes are internal for internal communication. Security groups also are internal, and that's how you use it. So how do we define membership for this type of groups? They can be assigned or dynamic. I'll explain. Assigned membership means that I'm creating group A and I'm adding Kunle, I'm adding Juliet, I'm adding Emmanuel, I'm adding Ken into that group. I've assigned these 4 guys into that group because it's assigned. That's the meaning of an assigned group. For dynamic group, it means I'm creating a group, but I want you to go into my directory, go into Entra now, and then look for anybody that is located in, say, UK, and add that person to this group. So that function of looking for someone is called attributes. So you can set an attribute and say, I'm creating this group as a dynamic group, and I want only people that have this particular attribute to join, or only people that have .com, or only people that have my custom domain. There are several attributes you can set, and then use that to pull users to that group. So that kind of group, you don't have to select each user, like maybe now selecting Adekunle, selecting one or two persons. No, you allow the system to dynamically select the users based on the attributive sets. So it's for users and devices. You would see it in use because when you get into Intune, you see how this can actually help you manage user and devices. Then groups from on-premises ADDS with dynamic membership don't synchronize with Azure AD. This, I think I checked one time, but I couldn't find a definite reason why this doesn't work. But if you're familiar with on-premises directory, if you have a dynamic group there, those kind of groups don't synchronize in Entra. I think I should give it as an assignment if you can find out why dynamic groups on the ADDS doesn't synchronize with Entra ID. You'd see, but every other group synchronizes. If you set them to synchronize, yes, they will be synchronized, but the dynamic groups would not synchronize with Entra ID. So I'll leave you to find that out and then you proceed. So synchronizing objects from ADDS to Entra ID, as I said, it uses the Microsoft Entra Connect Sync. Yes, I was going to say Azure AD Sync. It's still the same, but it's now the Entra Connect Sync 2. So you synchronize objects, attributes, whatever, from the on-premises AD into your Microsoft Entra ID. Then you can also set an optional write back. So maybe you want to write back passwords from Entra ID to the AD, or you want to write back users from the ones you've created here to AD and the case like that. So you can also set up an optional write back like that. But one-way sync that is in use when you have this synchronization is that whatever you've allowed to be synced from AD should immediately be synced to Entra ID, and they include user, devices, groups, and the likes. So let's see. I think we should be almost done. So now let's describe what Microsoft Entra Join means. Microsoft Entra Join is when you join your devices into Entra. It's still the same. So basically, it's for devices that you need to add into your Entra. So as a user in my directory, say Adekunle at m365community.com, I have a device that has been assigned to me by Madam Olajumo PSA, for example. That device, I need to join it into Entra ID. How do I do this? This is the process of joining that device to Entra ID, you have to be either a Windows Pro or Enterprise Edition. This, I remember when I started my journey, it's been a while. One of the few tasks I dealt with was trying to join a device into Entra ID. I'm not proud of this, so that's why I'm saying this way. I tried everything I could. It was not joining. I tried settings. At some point, I think I rebooted the system, did everything. And then at some point, I just had to calm down. And then I just went into settings. And I just checked the system. And I noticed the system was a Windows home device. I tell you, it dealt with me for a very long time. Like, why? Why didn't I just check? Why didn't I just confirm if this device could actually join Entra ID? Why did I have to go through all the stress, debugging, troubleshooting? And which is a very, very quick thing I want to say to you guys, that sometimes that troubleshooting you're doing might just be a simple solution you're looking for. And then always check the basics. Don't think you have to start from the hardest thing to check when troubleshooting. Most times, what you can check is probably even a restart can actually help you troubleshoot your devices. So that was something and that's something I'll never forget. If you ask me to join a device into Entra, are you sure that device is a Windows Pro device or it's an enterprise? If it's not, obviously you can't join it into Entra. It has to be a professional or enterprise edition. You can't join a Windows home device. And I think the reason is because it's even in the name, it's an home edition of Windows. It's not for business. It's not for enterprise use. So that can be joined. It can be registered, which we'll still talk about. We have a term known as Entra registration. It can be registered, but it can't be joined. Then Microsoft Entra joint devices cannot be managed with group policy. Do we know why this cannot be managed? Who wants to explain why Entra joint devices cannot be managed with group policy? Is there anyone that would like to explain this? You can raise up your hand and then probably I'll unmute you to speak. Anyone? Okay, no one is saying anything. So I'll explain.
To manage users on-prem, so he's not using the cloud.
Yeah,
manage users and objects on-prem, not in the cloud.
Very correct. I just wanted to be sure that we were following, because I already said it, that group policies are only available on premises. Entra joint devices would not see it. You can't even manage them because they are not joined to your local AD. They are only joined to the Entra ID. Though we have the hybrid Azure AD join or the hybrid Entra ID join. That one is where you've joined the device to the local AD and synced it up to the cloud. So that way it has like a presence on both planes. You can see it on-prem, you can see it in the cloud as well. So that's it. But for the ones that are just specifically joined to Entra alone, they can never. I have not seen where. If you've seen, let me know. If you have to show me evidence anyways. I need to see receipts, but never, you can't manage those with group policies. And typical scenarios for joining device to Entra ID, if applications and resources that you use are mostly in the cloud, if you want to separate temporary accounts, if you want to enable users to join their device to corporate environment, you want to transition to cloud-based, you have remote branch offices with limited on-premises infrastructure. Yes, so this is scenarios where you would want to join a device. You want them to access what is in the cloud, and then maybe for remote offices where you can't network into their on-prem infrastructure, obviously you would be asked to join the cloud infrastructure, which is Entra ID. Then joining devices to Entra during the initial setup or later by using system settings. This we'll see in the demo session because we have a device already and we'll see how we can set it up even after initial setup. So you can either join them during initial setup or later. We'll explain. I'll make sure I explain that. There's a slide that speaks to that. Then you can use hybrid Microsoft Entra to automatically register on-premises domain joined devices with Microsoft Entra. So Shegun Phillips, I see you have your hands raised. If you have a question, please drop it in the chat. I said I won't take more questions now until we get to the end. So if you have a question, you can please just drop it in the chat. Thank you. All right, so let's examine Microsoft Entra joint prerequisites, limitations, and benefits. Entra limitations. Entra is not part of your infrastructure. It's not part of your AD. So it could be a limitation for people that only want to be accessing what they have on their infra Also, Entra does not have the same management capabilities as ADDS. Though it looks like it has an extension of it, but it doesn't have the same thing. What you do on ADDS, you would not necessarily be able to do it on the Entra as well. But scratch that. What do you think are the benefits? One, single sign-on. We can't emphasize that. Roaming of user settings across joint devices. In my organization, I can easily pick up a stopgap device. I can easily pick up anybody's device and sign into it and still get access to every of my data, because we all work with, say, Entra device joint, Entra devices. So I just need to sign in with my credentials. As long as I'm still licensed, maybe our billing admin has not taken off my license, I can easily log in to that device and get most of my data back. Also, Windows Hello, it allows the support of Windows Hello using Entra. That can be set up, restriction to apps to only compliant devices. I think last month we looked at compliance, configuration, all that. So we'll still look at it when we get to that part. And then seamless access to on-prem resources. Scenarios enabled by Entra with on-prem AD infrastructure. So in cases where you now have Entra part of your infrastructure, maybe you've added it to your on-premises, you've created the sync and everything. Yes. So it allows the ease of transmission to cloud-based infrastructure. You know, everyone is moving to the cloud. So in cases where you want to transition, you don't just have to stop and then pick up maybe in the cloud. You can easily set Entra up with your on-prem and then allow the ease of this transition by moving workloads little until you get to the full cloud-based infrastructure. When on-premises domain join is not possible, for example, you can't join a tablet or a phone to your on-premises local AD. If you can, let me know. I have a gift for you. You can't join tablets or phones. Also, when users primarily need to access M365 or SaaS applications. So in the case where users don't need to access anything on-prem, they don't need to get to your SAP servers on-prem. They need to get to whatever server you have running on-prem. You just want them to access M365 apps or apps that you've made Entra aware. You can easily allow Entra configuration with your on-prem. Then in cases where you want to manage a group of users in Entra instead of Active Directory, I've worked with clients where hybrid scenarios, yes, but they have some group of users that are only in Entra and not in Active Directory. These users are contractors, so they are not I won't say they are not full-fledged members of the organization. They are just there for contracts and the like. So these guys don't have anything to do on the AD. So they have a separate way they create them. They only create them in the cloud. You won't find them synced. You won't find them as a synced user in their tenants. They are only cloud-only users, and they only access what they need to access. If in the case they need to access an on-prem application, they set up application proxy and allow them to access it with the use of just-in-time access as well. Give them the access and then it's off once they don't need to access as well. So that's another way you can enable Entra with your on-prem AD. And lastly, you want to provide joining capabilities to workers in remote branch offices with limited on-premises infrastructure. Many of us, or many of you on this call, where you work remotely, you know that you didn't have to travel to your head office to set up your devices because maybe you already have some Entra activity going on. So it allows users to just sign in with their credential and access these capabilities. So joining device to Microsoft Entra, yes, we're getting to this interesting part. It's a simple procedure. We'll see it. You can join to Entra after Windows installation, or you can do it later by using the settings pane. See that as well. And then you need the Microsoft Entra, the credentials to join device to Microsoft Entra. This is another thing I think I've seen a lot when it comes to troubleshooting Entra and Intune join. And I'll explain another real case scenario now. This is not live or anything. We're troubleshooting a user that couldn't join his device to Entra ID. Also, these were my beginning days, so don't judge me. We tried everything. We're seeing errors, checking errors, blah, blah, blah. And then in the end, I think after some hours, we discovered that the user was not licensed with an Entra ID license. You see how checking basic things can actually help you to resolve big issues at that time. So you need an Entra ID credential, and then it has to be a licensed user. Because, for example, that user was on a business, I think was even just an Exchange Online license then. and that doesn't give you access to AD, not even the free version or anything. So with that, the user could not join to Entra, and then we kept on troubleshooting until we fixed the license issue. Okay, so let's go very quickly. Managing devices that are joined to Entra. Group policy manages devices that join on premises. We know this already. We don't need to dwell on this. Group policy is not always available or supported for devices that join Microsoft. This is just an extension, but it's not there. You can't find it. The reason why they said it's not always available is that at some point in Intune, and I just hope I'm not already going too far. At some point in Intune, you can actually import group policies. We have the group policy analyzer in Intune that allows you to analyze group policies that has been exported from the GPMCs and then create them in Intune and allow you to assign it to devices. But you know, that's a long process. That's why I say that line might actually be correct and incorrect because it involves a lot of steps to allow it. But natural basis where you just want to apply a GPU update or something, that can be done for devices that are only joined to Entra. Then Microsoft Entra supports integration with mobile device management applications such as Intune, which is why we are here. We want to see how that works. And then integration between Intune and Entra is configured. A device that joins Entra automatically enrolls with Intune. This is one feature why I really love Intune. Once you join a device to Entra, once that feature is turned on, it automatically just enrolls them into Intune. I think I spoke about this last month, but we'll see it play out because we need to be sure that this is turned on before we do our device enrollment on the demo. So that is joining device. Then managing mobile devices with Intune. The Intune Admin Center console includes all the management capabilities provided by Intune. The Intune company portal is used to self-manage device enrollment and to access published applications. We would see the Intune company portal. So the Intune company portal is a SaaS application that can be accessed on different devices. So when we say device management, mobile device management in Microsoft, and I think I explained this, even though it can be overemphasized, is that it includes your Windows device. Your Windows device is a mobile device. Your phone, your Android, iOS, macOS, iPadOS, they are all mobile devices in the face of Microsoft. So that's it. So device management lifecycle includes enrollment, configuration, protection, and then retirement. So every device in the Entra ID goes through this lifecycle and then you rinse and repeat. So you enroll them, configure, you protect, then you retire. So let's see this next slide that speaks to managing the devices in Intune. Also, the same consistent set of MDM capabilities across your mobile, desktop, and internet obtained devices. Starts with enrollment, then you have an inventory, then you have device configuration and security. You also have, where's my pointer? You also have application management, remote assistance, and then lastly, on enrollment. So let's look at enrollment. The enrollment part speaks to provisioning. You want to provision devices for organizations that work with, say, resellers or authorized vendors of these devices. You can set up some level of provisioning for directly from the OEM. We have some organizations where devices come pre-configured. It's like your defaults, could be some presets, configuration presets like wallpaper, sound and the like, settings, applications and the like. So that's all part of enrollment provisioning. Then we have bulk enrollment, simple bootstrap, Azure AD integration. That is all part of the enrollment process. Then inventory, it allows additional device inventory. So you can have, for every device enrolled in Intune, there are a lot of capabilities you'll find once those devices are enrolled, hardware properties, software properties, and the likes. Then we have device configuration settings. It gives you extended set of policy, certification management, enterprise Wi-Fi settings, VPN management settings, email provisioning, MDM push, kiosk start screen. All these are types of configuration policies. We'll get there because there's a week where we'll be dwelling specifically on policies and we'll be creating some of them as well. Then next is application management. You have the curated Windows store. So for every application you probably find on your Microsoft Store, it can also be provisioned, or I like to use the word deployed using Microsoft Intune. Then there's a business store, enterprise app management, simplified line of business app management, Windows 32 MSI app inventory for iOS, and then you can also allow and deny apps via App Locker, Windows information protection as well. The next is remote assistance. Why do we even use Intune as administrators? You can perform device wipe, remote lock your devices, pin resets. You can ring devices, find them. You can also get inventory for compliance decisions. And then at the end, enrollment with alerts. You can remove your configuration policies as an admin or as an organization, and then configure the end of life for the devices you've enrolled. So how do we enable MDM authority? This particular image you can see here, most times, I think in newer tenants now, when you create a tenant, you might not necessarily see this, because the start of authority now is by default set to Intune MDM. But most times you can decide what you want. So in cases where you probably have the SCCM going on for you for device management, and you want to use Intune as well, you can decide to set your device authority, your MDM authority, to configuration manager or MDM. Or if you feel like in your organization you don't want to manage, any device, or everybody's just working with it, bring your own device type of scenario, you can select none. But obviously we know that's not possible as part of our discussion, so we don't want to select none. You actually have to select Intune MDM. But on our tenant, it's already selected, so you don't even have to make that change already, because the tenant is a cloud tenant and it's a developer tenant. So MDM is an industry standard for managing devices, smartphones, tablets, laptops, desktop computers. Also, we use MDM to enable the enrollment of mobile devices. The MDM authority must be set this. And by default, Intune allows enrollment of Windows, Android, Samsung Knox devices. To manage iOS and macOS, and Apple MDM push certificate is required. We'll see that when we get to Apple enrollment as well. So let's see considerations for device enrollment. I should be done with the slide. So once you determine enrollment method, how do you enroll devices into Intune? You can enroll them through group policy. Yes. So you can set a group policy that allows you to enroll devices that are joined to your domain into Intune. There's a particular, I think I'll look for that setting and maybe share on our next call, where you can actually enroll devices into Intune using group policy. You can enroll them using Microsoft Entra, which is what we want to see today. And then you can enroll them manually. So from settings page, provisioning package, or a company portal app, you can see how you can enroll devices. And so these are a list of some supported devices: Windows 10, 11, Pro, Education, S Mode, and enterprise versions, cloud PCs, Windows 10 Internet of Things devices, holographics, Windows IoT 8.1. I don't know who still has that, but I think most of the automated teller machines, some of them still run on 8.1, as the case may be. So that's why. And if you need to enroll those kind of devices, you can also do that on Intune. Apple iOS, iPadOS 13.0, macOS 10.15. I think this has upgraded, so don't take my word for it. I wanted to check as well. I think the Android 6.20 has actually been deprecated. Your Android has to be like on 8.0 before you can enroll, and the case like that. Then you can determine devices and other things. So let's see managing corporate enrollment. First off, you want to have your Entra domain, your domain.microsoft.com. That means you want to have your tenants, basically. Then you want to have added one or more of your custom domain names: contoso.com, xyz.com, abc.com. You can also add other custom domain names. Then you want to configure automatic MDM enrollment. It's recommended. This is what allows devices that are joined to Entra to be fed into Intune. Or you want to create CNAME records and then device registration when not licensed for Entra Premium. So in cases where you don't have the Entra Premium and you just want your devices to join using by finding the CNAME records, you can set this up. I think we can even touch on this when we get to registration as well. We'll see how that can be set. So other ways of enrolling Windows devices in Intune. There are many ways of enrolling. First off, you can add work or school accounts. I think most of us should be familiar with adding work or school accounts. Settings, you go to settings and add. That's what we'd also see in the demo. Add work or school accounts, you can enroll them in Intune. You can enroll in MDM only, user-driven. So I want to ask a question. Do you think there's a difference between adding work or school accounts and enrolling in MDM only? Is there anyone that thinks there's a difference or they look like it's the same thing? Ezra, you can't see the screen. My screen is still shared though. Can anyone still see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, so I was saying we're looking at enrolling Windows device in Intune, right? So I'm saying adding work or school accounts and enrolling in MDM only, it looks like the same. Or do you think there's a difference? Is there anyone that thinks there's a difference between the two? Since we say Intune is the MDM startup authority, and adding work or school accounts is also putting it in Intune. So what do you think could be the difference? Or do we think it's the same?
So, I guess Intune gives you a little bit of, some other configurations that you can do when you add a device, and then adding a work or school account, I guess it simply just sets up the account on, on the browser and importing your, your passwords and, other credentials that you could use. So there might be a little difference, I think so.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Steve. All right, so Oluwasomi.un, yes, you can unmute and speak. So yeah, I can see a message from Setu Rahman just before you speak. Yes, we can. MDM only for mobile tab. Okay, yes, that is also very valid. Thank you so much, Setu Rahman. Oluwasomi.un, you can speak now.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the school work account is basically more of user based policy, while the MDM is being managed by the IT department for more accessibility to an account.
Okay, that's also very valid. Thank you so much for that response, Oluwasomi.un. All right, so I would also explain because most times administrators have confused these two, but I would explain. When you add work or school account to your settings page, what it does first is it joins that device to Entra. So firstly, the device becomes Entra join. And because you've set up automatic enrollment for Entra device into Intune, it will just enroll that device into Intune as well. So that means stepwise, once I add my work or school account, it first joins Entra, then it goes into Intune. But enrolling in MDM alone for user-driven means that I just only want to enroll in Intune. So it skips the process of joining that device into Entra. And I would explain. Most times when you do only enrollment in MDM, I'll show you the settings when we get to the device that we'll be testing with. When you enroll only in MDM, it means that that device would not have any placeholder in Entra ID. So oftentimes you won't find that device in Entra ID, but it will be in Intune because you only enrolled it in Intune. You didn't ask it to go through Entra join. Or oftentimes, if you find it in Entra, it would be in Entra as a registered device. So what I mean by registered devices in Entra means that devices that you've only just signed into, they are not joined, but you've signed in, it has a cache of your credential at some point, so you see it. Most times when you want to sign into your maybe Office or Outlook on a device that is Entra, that is an enterprise device, you see, allow this to be joined to or only sign into this app, something like that. I think I saw it somewhere. So if you say allow this device to be added to other apps and join to this, that one means you will join it. If you say no, only this app, then it just maybe takes a registration of the device because obviously Microsoft's intelligence has to confirm wherever you're signing. Please, can we please be on mute? I think someone is unmuted. Thank you. Microsoft's intelligence has to see wherever you're signing in, all the credentials you're using to sign in on devices. So by basic terms, the difference between these two is for add work or school accounts, it goes into Entra, then Intune. But for enrolling in MDM only, it only goes directly into Intune. You don't have to have a presence in Entra ID. I hope that explains that. Then Microsoft Entra join out-of-box experience. So this one for, say, devices that are set up fresh out of the oven from your device vendors. You can do an Entra join such that those are joined into Entra even before users get the physical systems or sign into them. You can join them using the out-of-box experience. We also have Entra join autopilot, user-driven deployment. So for autopilot, it also follows the formation where, as an organization, you've purchased a number of devices, you've set up some settings, customized settings on the device, and then all your users have to do is just sign in with credentials, and they get access. It's joined, you register their name and everything. This is also, I think this should be our next topic in 2 weeks. We'll discuss Windows Autopilot extensively and also try to demo that. Then we have the Autopilot self-deployment mode, which is also an example of user-driven. Then we have enroll in MDM only for device enrollment manager. Device enrollment managers are administrators that can enroll devices. I think it's an account you can assign. Please, Juliet, can you help me check? Someone is unmuted. Can you help me mute that person? Thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Juliet. So enrolling in MDM only means that for the device enrollment manager, it means you are giving one sole person, your part of them up to enroll devices in MDM. So you create an account. I've seen funny names of these across many organizations. You see enrollment manager at xyz.com or Intune manager at xyz.com, Intune clinical at xyz.com, as the case may be. So that account will be used to enroll all devices. At the moment, I think device enrollment managers can now enroll up to 1,000 devices by one account, can enroll up to 1,000 devices. But a regular user account, I think, we only have up to like 15 or 150. I think 15, yeah, 15 devices. But for device enrollment managers, you can enroll up to 1,000 devices. So that's another way you can enroll. Then we have Microsoft Configuration Manager Co-Management, which is the SCCM enrollment. So you can set up enrollments using allowing SCCM, that's the config manager, to enroll devices in some custom collections that you may have created. So in SCCM, you can create a collection of the type of Windows devices and then push those into Intune with a setting. Then we have Microsoft Entra join, which is also bulk enrollment and can be likened to device enrollment management. Then let's see, enrolling Android devices. So for Android devices, you can enroll them by downloading the company portal app from Google Play. You open the company portal, sign in with the worker school account, and then follow instructions. Then we have Enterprise Android. So for Enterprise Android, this is cases where the organization provides the Android device for you. So they set up some joint types where devices are joined on a corporate-owned basis. So it's a corporate device. It's not a BYOD, it's a corporate device. So you can have work profile, you can have enterprise dedicated or fully different type of joint types, which we'll see when we get into the Android enterprise joining. We also have enrolling iOS devices. So enrollment of iOS can be done either by the user automatically. So to be done by the user means that the user would also go into the Apple App Store and enroll an iOS device by installing company portal and signing in. Then you follow instructions that automatically just enrolls your device in Intune. Then for the ones that are company owned, organizations have to go through the process of Apple Device Enrollment Program. For businesses, we have the Apple Business Manager. It's like an inventory for your Apple devices you must have purchased as a business. You can easily plug that into Intune using an MDM push certificate and then enroll your devices. For schools that use Apple School Manager, you can also set up this setting and plug in your school devices into Apple. Then we have the Apple Configurator Setup Assistant Enrollment. This involves the use of USBs to enroll the iOS devices, probably from a Mac OS. You use that and then use it to enroll your iOS into Intune, and then also with the device enrollment manager account. And let's see, exploring the device enrollment manager I spoke about. Yes, it's a user account that allows you to enroll up to 1,000 devices through company portal. it's a limitation of devices enrolled because it's only 1,000. Imagine a case where you have 10,000. Well, you can still create 10 enrollment manager accounts and bypass that, but that could be an hassle. Then global admin or Intune service administrator roles are required to complete the tasks that are related to DEM and access all DEM users despite outback permission. So as a DEM, you have to have the Intune service administrator role to be able to see the devices and manage devices that are probably enrolled through the company portal. Now, how do we monitor device environments? You can use Intune Admin Center. You can get information about devices, how many devices are there, Windows, Android, iOS. And then on the Entra portal, the Intune Admin Center only shows enrolled devices, Entra join devices, device settings, audit logs, and enterprise stage roaming. Then managing devices remotely. This one is always a very strict deal for administrators because you can perform remote tasks, you can wipe devices, retire devices, delete devices, remote lock, restart, sync. I think I do this restart sometimes when I realize that users have not probably restarted their devices. How many people here like to restart their devices every weekend? You shouldn't lie anyways, because I think we know not everybody restarts their device. So when I realize you've not restarted your devices in a long time, we trigger this and then help you to restart your device at a less productive time, say weekend or close of business. Then sync, you can quickly sync policies. So maybe you create a policy now, you want to see it in action almost immediately. You can sync that device so that it picks up that policy. You can run a quick scan for vulnerabilities and also a full scan on the device as an administrator managing the devices remotely. It needs to breathe. Yes. All right. So manage and monitor device information. So what you can manage and what you can see in Intune, you can see hardware information. I said that you can discover the applications installed. So for every device is enrolled in Intune, as long as it has a device entry in Intune, you can track applications installed on it. You can see device compliance policies. So for those of you that have applications installed on your device and you think no one sees it, someone sees it, but they don't have the time yet, probably. But you can actually track discovered applications, you can track compliance policies, and also you can track configuration policies in Intune. So we are at the end of the slide, and then I'm trying to prepare our Windows devices so we can go to the admin center. But I just want to ask a question. So what is the difference between Azure AD Join and Azure AD Register? If you know the answer, you want to speak, you can unmute and then maybe speak to it, or you can just share in the screen. So I'll start to get our admin center ready. So I can't see responses. Are you guys still with me? You can tell me the difference between Azure AD Join and Azure AD Register. Entra AD Join and Entra AD Register, basically.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Akins.
All right, so I believe the Azure Register basically involves when users, or let's just say users, when users are automatically enrolled to Azure, like from the Windows setup. Why the join is maybe after you've already set up the system, you've installed Windows, then you are now integrating them into Azure.
Okay. I think those on part of your responses are not correct. But yes, I think the other one you mentioned is actually correct. But let's see if we have someone else that wants to say that. Thanks for that response, Akins. Michael, yeah.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. So from what I know, Azure AD joint is a device that is joined to the Azure AD. Just like join devices to Active Directory domain services, join this device to domain and all that. So it's a device that is joined to the Azure Active Directory. While Azure AD registered, devices joined to the directory are usually company devices that has been joined, just like company devices that you join to the domain. But Azure AD registered devices are usually personal devices that probably users need to work from home or from anywhere, and then they need to use their own devices. So those devices are regarded as Azure registered. That
All
way,
right.
some level of security measures can be pushed to them, since users will be using their company accounts on those devices. So it provides some level of security oversight on those devices, just to safeguard users and data when the users are logging on those devices and using them for office work, accessing
That's
company data.
very correct. Michael, you must be an administrator. This your answer is very, very descriptive. Thank you so much for that. All right, Simeon.
Okay. Good evening. Thanks for the class. I really appreciate it. I just want to see it from another angle. That can we say Azure Entra ID joined are the ones that were synced from the on-prem using the Azure Entra ID application, joined application into the cloud, which makes them an hybrid staff, hybrid users. Let me use the word hybrid users. And it's indicated in that all active users in the Entra ID that this person is actually an Entra ID joined. And the other one is like maybe you are registering a user through the OOBE experience, or you go into the system settings and you join them through the work or school, join Entra ID account. From that place is Entra ID registered. That is my own opinion. I don't know how true it is. Thanks.
Okay, thank you so much, Simeon. So I think I'm speaking to my bosses on this call. I'll probably not say anything again because you guys seem to know a lot already. But I just want to correct something you said, Simeon. Thank you for that response. But then the example you cited for the join types talking about hybrids might be a misconception. And what I mean is when we say Entra joined, it's basically Entra only. The case you mentioned, you said going back to the on-premises, no. So for devices that are from the on-prem syncs to the cloud, they are called hybrid Entra joined. So different type of joins, you have two. Either you are Entra joined or you are hybrid Entra joined. So if you are Entra joined, it means you're only cloud joined. We're only joined to the cloud directory. If you are hybrid Entra joined, there's an hyphen there, hybrid Entra joined. It means that you were first joined to the on-prem, and then that device was synced to the cloud using the Entra Connect tool. And then once it's synced, it also has a presence, more like that same device is also in the cloud. So that's the difference between the Entra joined and hybrid Entra joined. But if we can understand that your answers are actually very correct, meaning that they were joined to the directory, but now just cloud directory, and then the registered one. So thank you for that, Simeon. I hope you get that. I'd also want to hear from Peter, then we'll take Busayo and Sandra. Then I would also speak to the responses in the chat. Before you go, Peter, so Adekunle says AD register puts you into Active Directory. That would not be correct. So AD register is not any way linked to Active Directory. And that's why I said the Active Directory is basically your on-premise directory. When you see Azure Active Directory, that's when we're talking about the Cloud Directory. And that's where you can even talk about anything like Entra join or Entra register or AD join or AD register. So that might not be correct. Then the Azure AD join involves company-owned devices, while Azure Register can involve personal devices. Yes, very correct. Thank you, Sandra. Toluwala share Azure AD is about identity and MDM also management at security. Okay, very correct. But then I'm sure there's still more we can speak to that. So Peter, you can speak if you still want to. Then we'll have Busayo, Sandra. Then we'll go back to the demo.
Good. Hello. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Peter.
Okay, yeah. From my own perspective, I think Sandra already said something similar to what I was thinking. But for the context, I feel Azure AD join are already users already in the Active Directory. You get devices owned by the firm or by that particular company are joined directly with the what do you say with the instruction of the administrator. Why the one for Azure Register? They are like it's like link sent to other devices to join the Active Directory to join. That's what I basically, understand about that.
All right, thanks, Peter. So let me also correct that conception. You are actually correct, but the first part where you spoke about administrators first joining to directly. So if there's one thing I want everyone on this call as much as possible to understand is there is a very, very wide gap and difference between just saying Active Directory and saying Azure Active Directory. They are two different things. So you might use them in the same context, but they are not because they are different structures. Active Directory is your local Active Directory. Can also be called Windows Active Directory. That's the one you have on-prem. But when you want to say Active Directory in the cloud, you have to be explicit and say Azure Active Directory, or you just say Entra ID. Very simple. And I want to believe, though I'm not part of that committee or part of that program in Microsoft that decided to change the name from Azure Active Directory to Entra. There must have been a lot of miscommunication and conceptions. That's why. So if you say Active Directory, you have to say expressly say Active Directory as in local Active Directory. And if you say Active Directory, you have to expressly say, okay, I'm talking about Azure Active Directory. I'm talking about Entra ID. So what you said, whereby users have or the admins have first joined them to the directory. In that case, I think what you're trying to say, I want to believe, is that when users do like a domain join for new devices and then make them ready, such that users just sign in, those kind of devices are locally joined to your local Active Directory. They are not in the Azure Active Directory. When users now sign in, say with their Azure credentials or their Entra credentials to those devices, because those devices are signed in, are joined to your local directory, devices can be in a very confusing state. And I'm sorry, I don't know I'm digressing, but I just want to say it. You find out sometimes when you go into a device, you see devices joined to this domain. And then you also see something like devices joined to a cloud domain. Yes. Most times that happens where in situations where organizations have not set up hybrid connectivity. Because if you are able to set up hybrid connectivity, if you first join those devices to the local AD by administrator, where you do your domain workbook joining from the settings or anyway, and then users now sign in with like an Azure AD credential on that device, because they are licensed from the cloud, once they sign into that on-prem device, that device would automatically become hybrid Entra ID joined. It doesn't just become an Entra joined. It becomes hybrid Entra joined because you would have, I want to believe you have Entra Connect going on, and then you have licenses for it. So it pushes that devices to the cloud as well. So that's where you now see devices where you see something like connected to XYZ domain. And then you also see under it, you see connected to Adekunle at xyz.com tenants domain, something like that. Those kind of devices are hybrid Entra joined. They are not plainly Entra joined. Because my question was just difference between Azure Entra joined and Azure Entra registered. But I can see most of the examples we are given are hybrid Entra joined, which is also valid, but then they are quite different. Thank you so much, Peter. I don't know if that helps.
Yes, thank
okay,
you. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So there was one person I think I called before, Sandra, and then we also have one person. I want to quickly get into the demo because we are working against time, and I don't want to take any more time than 6 p.m. Nigerian time. So let's maybe have Sandra, if you still have anything to say. If not, we can have Arun.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, Adekunle, for this wonderful presentation. So I just wanted to look at this from the management point of view. So
Okay.
when we talk about the Entra ID join, I believe the IT has full control over the device. They can deploy security settings. They can even deploy software on the device. They can even wipe out the entire device. So I've seen cases where sometimes a company's device might go missing, and then IT would say, "Okay, don't worry, we're gonna like remove every single thing on that device." Then for the Entra ID register, I believe because your personal, it could be your personal device, they have limited control over what they can do. Yes,
Very
they
correct.
can enforce some apps. They might tell you this app, you need to download this app, but I don't think they can actually go in and deploy the apps themselves. So I don't think they would really have all that full control to wipe your own personal data or even take full control of the OS. So that's where I just wanted to like chip in something.
Very, very, very correct, Sandra. And like I said, I think I'm speaking to my guys on this call. That's actually very correct. The join gives the admin the full rights to do anything they can do. And I always make an inside joke. I say, don't offend your IT manager. They can make or marry. They can do anything to your device. But that's just an inside joke. So that's because your devices are joined. But for the ones that are just registered, it's basically because they just need to see it. They need to inventory that device accessing company or corporate data, and so it just allows that registration for the device. So there's so much there's not so much they can do, basically just some little things as opposed to joining. Thank you so much, Sandra. And then lastly, let's have Arun.
Yeah, good evening. Sandra just explained what I wanted to explain, and your previous explanation actually covered everything. Join, extra join, that is, you are taking control as an administration. Why the other one, you just want to have it listed, part of what you have, but you don't have full control about it. Why AD is local, where you have your domain created, then you have your, what's it called? AD services, where you just add that system to locally within the organization, but it's not on the cloud. That is just the three different and what's it called? Examples of the three difference that we have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aaron. So with this, I think we've come to the end of the class. I think everyone understands it, and we don't even need to proceed. But thank you, guys. I'm actually very, very happy that I can get this kind of interaction, because you are actually very, very correct with what you said. Is just as Aaron has explained, Entra join means my IT has 100% liability on the device. Registered is I just want them to see the application I'm signing in on my personal device or any device. Then the AD is full control, because you are joining them from, say, the domain directly. You're joining them directly to domain, so you are having that same full control as the IT admin. So that's that. Tolu Alashe, I don't know if I can. Okay, you have 1 minute. If you can just say, okay.
Hello, good evening. I sent my question on the chat
Okay, let
thing,
me
but you
see.
didn't see it. So I want, yeah, you can just check it.
Okay,
Thank
is
you.
there a way we can register a lot of devices at the same time with automation rather than manually? Yes. So we have the bulk enrollment, which allows you to do some level of enrollments via automation, partial. We also have Windows Autopilot. So Windows Autopilot is where the kind that is advised when you have a very large number of devices, and probably you are purchasing them directly. I always use the word purchasing directly from vendor, because the vendors can easily provide you with the information you need for this kind of environment. And what you need is centered around the device hash. We'll see it in our next class. I think we are looking, I'll go back and check. Our next class should be Windows Autopilot. We'll see the in total of that. We'll see that. So without Windows Autopilot, you'll see how you can enroll devices by collecting the hashes and making them already joined to Entra ID, where users are signing. So with that, you can actually enroll devices. I don't think I should take this question from Michael, but we have one. It's okay. Let's just take your 1 minute question, and then we'll go back to sharing the demo. Michael.
Sorry, it's not a question actually.
Okay.
Just one observation, one thing I've observed, and I just want some opinion about it. But let me not delay us with that. And let's leave that.
You can drop it in the chat if you don't mind.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go into the admin center. Apologies, I'm already signed in on this browser, so SSO, like I explained, already picked it up for me. And then I'm signed in, but I want to go into the Intune admin portal. Intune admin portal can be accessed by intune.microsoft.com or endpoint.microsoft.com. I'm sorry for what you saw. I have a very funny firewall going on that doesn't like me to authenticate into M365 URL on this particular PC. So that's it. I have to click on that like 2 or 3 times. Okay. I'll just refresh this page one more time. I'm switching tenants. You should get my tenant. Why is this going on now? Okay, here we are. All good. So as I mentioned, we are building this tenant together, we are developing it together. So don't mind if you see it look bare and empty, because that's why we are on this journey. So once we look at device enrollment, I spoke about enrolling device, making them Azure aware. So the type of devices we already saw that you can do Windows, iOS, macOS, Android, and of recent Linux devices. This can be enrolled. But for the case of this demo, we want to enroll a Windows device. And our Windows device is actually Windows VM that I just spun up from the Hyper-V. We'll try to enroll that VM into this tenant. So let's see Windows. So for Windows, we want to see, as you can see, it's still empty. Yes, we'll try to get one here. Maybe before the next call, we'll find it, or it should be immediate actually. So we have a Windows device. I know there are different enrollment methods even for the Windows device. We saw that in our slide. You can do CNAME validation where you allow devices, and then co-management for configuration manager, automatic enrollment, which is what we want to see now. We also have, you can set device platform restriction, device limits, Windows Hello for Business, and Windows Backup. Then the Windows Autopilot, which we'll be talking about next week. So I'll just leave that. So we want to talk about automatic enrollment. Before we go on, let's look at what we have on the side, corporate identifiers. So you can set up identifiers to identify devices, maybe that are corporately owned. Then the device enrollment managers I spoke about, you can add them directly here. Give them the account, if it's an account. I think I'll create an account called Yakubu Manage and add it here for you before the next class, because that account is going to enroll 1,000 devices and it has to manage. So that's for device enrollment managers. But let's look at automatic enrollment. So the setting for automatic enrollment, no, that's just an error. This tenant or this has E5 developer. So we are able to have the features of the licensing. So now this is how we set that feature that I spoke about, where I said once the device is joined to Entra ID, it will automatically be enrolled in Intune using this Windows enrollment. Currently, we have a scope where the MDM user scope means use MDM enrollment to manage enterprise data will be configured for Microsoft Entra joint devices and bring your own device scenarios as long as they are part of the organization. So you can, it's currently set to none because this has not been touched yet. This is fresh. We can either set it to some. When you set it to some, you have to specify groups. So that means your devices or users have to be part of that group. The devices or users have to be part of the group, and they are the only ones that will be able to do that automatic enrollment. But I'm not doing that here because we don't have so many users, so we just want to test. So we'll just set this to all. So by the means of all, it means that anybody that has this domain, either this domain, this is my default domain, or that has the custom domain that was added, which is something like this. We'll be using this guy to test, would be allowed to automatically enroll their Entra joint devices into Intune. So I'll take that again. What this setting means by all is that any user in this directory, let me show you my directory. I think I should have even done that before I went to Intune. So directory can be accessed from the admin portal as when you move into identity. This button, identity, takes you there. It says it's offline, it's a lie. I told you guys about my firewall, so that's why. But it's signed in now. Once we sign in, you'll see the Entra Admin Center. let me quickly talk about this before we move ahead. Load. All right. So we are in the Entra admin center where I said you have your tenant. So this is that's your users, groups, devices, enterprise apps registration. I think we spoke about all that. Roles, admin roles. We also spoke about all that, but I want to assume you know this. Conditional access, multi-factor authentication, and the likes, identity protection, identity governance, privileged identity protection, risk-based conditional access, and the likes. Everything is in here. So your users would also be listed in here, and you can see them. So this setting means that I'm allowing all users that are currently listed here. You have a very, very large number of users, about 2 users listed here, would be able to enroll their Entra joint devices into Intune. So this particular setting you are seeing here was like the buzz of this week. It's fresh out of the oven. Disable MDM enrollment when adding work or school accounts on Windows. So this setting is what you would affect the question I asked. If you remember, my question was, what's the difference between AD join and AD register? Most times, devices become AD registered because of this setting that was not there before. So this simple setting you are seeing here is actually a breakthrough for many admins, IT admins, or Intune administrators, because now it helps you to be able to reduce the noise of BYODs or devices that should never have even been in your Intune, devices that you maybe have to create cleanup rules for and try to manage. You don't have to do that stress again because this single button can help you eliminate that registration. So basically what it means is you want to disable MDM enrollment when adding work or school accounts on Windows. So if I turn this on, it means that if I just sign into, say, an application, maybe I open Outlook or anything on that, my personal device, I don't have to, that device doesn't have to be enrolled in Intune anymore. It will just be in, what's it called, Entra, but it doesn't have to be registered. It doesn't even have to be seen in Entra, basically. I'm only just signing in to my account on that device. So that's one thing about this particular setting. And it's actually for Entra registering or workplace devices, as you can see. So I'll drop the link. You can even explore better because it's a new setting. You see how this actually affects your role as an Intune administrator. Let me just drop this link in the chat. Can explore it on the site and see how this is going to help you going forward. But now we already have this, so I think we can proceed with our own test. So now I want to try to enroll a device using auto enrollment by allowing it to first join Entra and then going into what's it called? Intune. So we have this user account, and then if you don't mind me, I might have to first reset the password because I think I've forgotten the password. And let me try to reset that password. And then we'll use it on our test device. Should I do this? Okay, no. Let's reset from admin center. You see why I tell you I like going through the different portals when I need to achieve different results. Now, what I'm trying to do is I want to reset it in such a way that it won't ask me to reset my password. And then I can choose what I want from the get-go. So what I mean is I want to reset the password now. I don't want to automatically create, and I don't want it to require me to change password. I couldn't do that for my ID, but I can do it from here. So I'll just do it from here real quick. Strong, good. And then I have my password reset. So I'll take this now to our device. Should I show this password? Nope. So let's proceed. So we have our VM. Let's just connect to it. Real time. Disconnect to. Don't fall my hand. All right. So it's on a different screen. I'm just going to drag it here. Just a moment. Okay, so this is our virtual machine. It's fresh. Nothing. You can see it's just a user signing. It's a local admin account currently signed into it. And we want to set up this device for enrollment. So let's first see what's on it. Like I said, there's nothing on it. It's an evaluation device. I'll probably still reset it before our next class for autopilot as well. Maybe just create another one so we keep it as reference. So let's go to settings. So you see what's in it at the moment. So this is the device. Like I said, it has a local account, 175 gig storage, this device name, blah, blah, blah. It's not joined to any domain or work school, so it's not domain joined, which is spoke about. And it's on enterprise. Remember, that's something you also want to take note of. This thing taught me a very, very serious lesson. Don't forget. So it's on the enterprise. As you can see, it was installed this, that. Okay. Hey Kings, are we going to learn how to set up a virtual machine? Not on this session, but it can be something we can talk about maybe when we have time. All right, so let's go into work or school. So if you remember, I was talking about work or school. So when you go into settings and you click on accounts, you have accounts listed. This is the account on this PM user account. We also have other users, and then we have the access work or school. So if I click on access work or school, I think I should increase this to the size of this screen. Good. So we have the access work or school. So I can decide to add work or school accounts. If you remember, I spoke about this, enroll only in device management. You know what this does, right? Who can remind me what this does? It means that this just teleports you directly into Intune. And you see, it says you get access to resources app, connecting means da. But this one is not taking you through Entra. It just takes you directly. Good, thanks, Akings. It skips Entra ID. But we are not doing that because what we want to achieve is we want it to go through Entra ID. So we want to add a work or school account. So once I click on connect, yeah. So this page also, I want you to take note of. If you look at this page, if you look at this page, this first place looks like what I just showed you, right? In the this guy, and that's because it's the same. So if I just put in my Entra ID credentials here, it's just going to do the same Intune join and just give me like a register on Entra. It's not going to have a join on Entra for this device. But what I want to do is join it particularly to Entra. So that's why you see there are alternate actions. So you need to take note of this if you are joining devices as a regular admin or as an Intune admin. So also there are two options. Do I want to join this device to a local Active Directory, or do I want to join it to Entra ID? If I say I want to join to local Active Directory, you know what it does. It tells me to provide a domain name and then move further. But I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Okay, I have 17 minutes more. I'm trying to finish before I ask questions. Are we going to learn virtual machines? Okay, I responded. Difference between SA account and admin account. Can you explain what SA account means? Please share that on why I take note of enterprise.
Sorry, SA is admin now. Yeah, SA is admin. Let's move on, bro.
Okay. Enterprise Windows 11 Pro. I explained Enterprise and Pro are company like Enterprise. How do I even explain? But Home is not for business use. So that's why you can use Home. So very quickly, let's click on Connect. So go back, click on Connect. Then now I want to join to Entra ID. So I click on Join this device to Entra ID. So what it does is it will take me to the sign-in page, which is the familiar sign-in page for Microsoft Office 365. So now I need to put in my email address, say Adekunle zerotrustbro.com. Click on next. Password. I just reset it. I hope I still remember. Yes, I remember. So I click on sign in. Oh, SC, system admin. All right. Okay, so this is it. This is the sign that lets you know that you are actually connecting to your tenant or the tenants your organization owns. So it tells you, make sure this is your organization. If you continue, system policies might be turned on or other changes might be made to your PC. Is this the right organization? So we've seen cases where users can put in a wrong username, or maybe you are using a different sign-in on a different PC. And in case if you join it, you know how hard it is to remove those kind of devices. You have to go through some administrative steps. But we can confirm that yes, we are connected to Zero Trust, adekunlezerotrustgroup.com. And because we've not made any further policies, I would want to explain why this just defaults to user type admin. You can actually set this. There is a setting you can set up for enrollment such that you only allow users to join devices as a standard account. So you don't want them to perform administrative tasks on devices. Well, that's in stricter cases where you are following some particular settings in your organization. But we are good. It's a test, so I'll just click on join. So wait while it sets up our device and then see what happens. How soon this device can get into Entra and then into Intune. So yes, the device is connected to Zero Trust Pro. When you are ready to use this new account, select the Start button, select your current account picture, and then select Switch Accounts. Sign in using your da. So now let's try to switch accounts. So you see, if you remember when I was giving the example of a device that is hybrid joined and also Entra joined, if this device was domain joined, you'd see something like connected by Adekunle, then connected to Zero Trust Bros domain. You won't see Entra ID. That's a AD joined device. So that's something you should also look out for. But now let's try to sign in with this account. I hope I can do this on this VM. Okay, I thought about this. Cuts it to VM, but let's see. I should be able to switch accounts. Let's restart and see.
Yes, you can switch accounts.
Okay, great. So let's see. Let's see if we have anything on our Entra ID yet on devices. If it is joined, Entra ID. Why is my remote SIM connected? I joined as an admin now. Okay, you guys hold on. This is just Hyper-V being Hyper-V. Just hold on. So I think you can see now that we have one device joined, which is this new device that is currently Hyper-V. All right, so we can see the device has been joined to Entra ID. You'll see the join type also shows you Microsoft Entra joined. Adekunle MDM not yet. It's because we've not finished the setting where we are signing in. So you might go to Intune and not find this device, or you could find an entry for the device. It's not yet here because the enrollment is still in the process. So let's go back to Hyper-V. What's going on here? Let's connect. Okay, start with a few more minutes. All right, so once I click on other users, if you remember, I couldn't do this before because it's joined now. I didn't forget my password, guys. I didn't forget. All right. And guys are signing, continue to be connected. Even signing, yes. Taking out that local admin guy. I don't like him. I want my device to be joined.
It no go fit be nice. It no fit be nice. No fit be nice. That's how listen now. Call am back. So that's the way you sleep.
Simeon.
You don't understand.
Okay. So waiting for this to sign in. So I think I can take questions because we are almost at the end of the call while we wait for this to sign in. So this is Shay. Shay. Yeah. You can ask
Hello,
a question.
can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Yeah. So the thing is, my question might be a little bit off because I joined really late, like 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
Yes, but the reason being that undergoing a Microsoft training, but this particular one was sent to me by a friend, but I did not see like maybe a community or something I could follow up with.
Okay.
That's I want to follow up on that, please. I'm sorry, I'm going off.
Okay. No. That's fine. So this is actually part of a deep dive session. It's a series actually from the community. And so I think what we'll do, you might have to be a part of our community. So I'll probably just ask Juliet to add you. She's going to drop the link. Good. Thank you, Juliet. To the community where you can join and follow through, where we'll share information on this session. And also, if you're just joining, it's fine. This would actually be uploaded to YouTube, so you can always still go back and rewatch. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. So guys, this guy is trying to sign in. Let's give him some time. Okay, I think we're in now. And let's confirm settings for our newly joined device. So mind you, you know we don't have any policy. We've not created any configuration profile. We've not created any setting. Like I said, we'll be doing all these things as we go on. So we'll keep this device and then be using it to test all the policies we'll be creating going forward, any setting, VPN settings, that, and everything. As much as we can fix it. So we'll test this device. So let's go to settings. Let's see, you can see it's currently signed in as Adekunle. Why did I try to put it off now? I'm going to settings. All right, so you see now it's no more the local admin accounts. This device is fully joined to Entra and should be in Intune in no minutes soon. So we'll go to accounts, you see it's an administrator account and the likes, access worker school, duly stamped, connected, and the likes. So what we wait for now is wait for this device to get into Intune. It might not be immediate, like I said, it might take a moment. You know, I just turned on that setting for the enrollment. But we'll keep this and then I'll track once it joins and maybe share on the community. And probably on our next call, we can review it. But this is the process of joining your device to Entra and forcing it to get into Intune using automatic enrollment. So I think we've come to a very good close of the class for today. But I don't know if there are any questions. We have 5 minutes more on the clock. Let's have questions, observations, or feedback, anything you think I should have spoken on that I didn't cover in this session, so we can put that into perspective for the upcoming sessions. Thank you, guys. Can I get your questions? So, all right, I think I'll just hand over to Juliet to do that. Thank you so much, Juliet. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Adekunle, for that wonderful section. Please ask your question. We're ready to take your question now. And also if you have a contribution to make. I have posted our YouTube channel on the chat box and also the WhatsApp link for you to join our community. You don't want to miss being part of our community where you meet other professionals that you could ask questions and collaborate and do stuff. So thank you everyone for joining. We are open to your questions and your answer. Question and contribution, I mean.
All right. Thank you so much, Juliet. So, guys, I think I found what's wrong. I just want to share my screen back so that I clear.
All right.
Yes, so this is the bad guy here. You guys didn't remind me to save this. You know, we didn't. I was supposed to select all and save it. So coming back here now, okay, let me just go back. I just wanted to do a random check and adjust because it was supposed to be already listed in Intune. It's supposed to be very fast. So if you go to enrollment like we did earlier, automatic enrollment, and then wow, it's still on none, which you should have set to all and save. So I think I skipped saving because I was responding to questions, which I won't do next class so that I don't lose track. And then now we'll just give the system time to get into Intune. So by next class, you'll find this in Intune, so it's fine. So apologies for that, guys. Thank you. Back to you, Juliet.
All right. Thanks for that, Adekunle. That's it with tech. We keep on retreating and checking every day. Any question? No, there is no attendance link. Just be part of our community and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You will get pop-up notification once we post and if we are organizing our next section. Let me know if you have a question so you can open your mic.
Right.
And
No, mine is not really a question. Good evening, Juliet. Mine is not really a question. Just, you know, some of us are already into these parts, while some are a bit lagging. A quick information for some of us who are just new to the IT world. With this Entra ID and into this prof just delivered to us now, you can actually join a device from any location across the globe, provided you are connected to the internet. Just a piece of information. Thank you.
thank you for that contribution. Thank you. I think we have, do you have anything to add, Adekunle?
Yeah, thanks, Juliet. And thanks for that contribution. I think that was Arun. Thank you so much. So yes, that's why it's a cloud resource. It's cloud resources can be accessed everywhere, anywhere, as long as there are no restrictions to the network. So that's why it's, like I said, it's mostly embraced now, and we can enjoy that. So that's very correct. Thank you so much, Aaron. So there's a question in the chat I can see from Oluwasomidotun. When devices are Azure AD joined or registered, does that incur additional storage costs in Azure, or at the cost side only to the services used on device? Okay, great. So for Azure AD join registration scenarios, it's directly tied to your licensing, not the subscriptions. So licensing in this case would mean the M365 licensing. So for licenses that would have Entra ID P1, P2 as part of your license, you can join your device. So that needs to be assigned. And that's why if you go back, if we look at this guy that just joined Entra ID, if I check his license and apps, just to emphasize what I'm saying, this is the license E5 developer. If you look at the applications, it comes with, where's this guy? Looking for Entra. Yes. So it comes with Entra ID P1 or P2. So any one of these two, your license that is assigned to that user has to have it. If it doesn't, you won't be able to add that device. And I think I spoke about it as one of my initial troubles when I started tech. So that's something you can look out for as well. So it's not tied to a subscription, it's just tied to your regular licensing. Thank you. I think someone has their hands raised. This is Julieth Agbo. You can unmute and speak.
Okay, good evening.
Yep.
Okay, sorry, I have a question, and it regards the Microsoft Intune.
since it's for mobile device management, assuming there's a laptop that was reported that is faulty, is this something that the mobile device management can shut down without doing a forced shutdown? I just want to know.
So did you say the device is? Sorry, did you say the device?
Maybe. Yes, the device is enrolled on Intune. It's being managed.
Okay.
And maybe in the course of using it, it has a problem. Maybe the screen fails and the person wants to shut down. They can't access. They can't see anything. Can the Intune can it switch it off? Can the admin person that is administrator can it switch it off?
Okay, so I would want to explain. Intune is a device management tool. Means that device needs to be seen before it can manage. So in one of the slides, I spoke about something called remote assistance. It means assisting the device owner remotely or making assistance to that device remotely. Meaning that for the admin to be able to assist that user now, you have to be able to remote into that device. So you need to be able to get into the device through the user, or maybe with some elevated privileges, which is still part of the remote assistance. So what that means is device needs to be online and active, basically. That's what it means. So if it's something that device is screen is off, obviously or the screen is broken, that's tilted more to like an hardware issue where you have to fix the screen. But it's something like they can't do some things, or they are trying to access an application and it's requiring privileged access. Maybe the user is a standard user and then they need maybe the elevated access to that application. You can come in as the IT admin to provide that elevated access through remote assistance. So that's one way of providing this kind of assistance over remote, but not necessarily fixing what will be attributed to maybe some physical issues or the likes. I don't know, guys.
Okay, it helps. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome. I did that. Any other questions? I think we're good. I think everyone understands this because Juliet, I think everyone here is a pro.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes, I think we're good.
So,
thank you.
Yeah. Would you like to close, Adekunle?
Yeah. So, like I said, I'll keep tracking this. We've set up that setting, so this should come in definitely very soon. So once it's in, I'll probably share, or maybe on our communication channels, I'll share your screenshot so you see it before our next class. And then just as we've said, our next class is going to be in 2 weeks, so you can get ready for that. We'll also share the topic, so you might, if you want to read up before the class, you can do, or maybe just grab some more information before that class and we can walk through it together. Thank you so much. Thank you. So thanks, Juliet. You can close out officially now.
All right. Thank you all for joining. In absence of any other question, I wish you all a wonderful evening and see you in our next section. Bye.